Hi, welcome back. It is session 5 of the LWL sessions, and I have from the Worthmore Nation pageant, Desi. Can you please tell me and everyone about who you are, how did you find the Worthmore Nation pageant, and what do you do now with them?
My name is Desi. Like she said, I am the Worthmore Nation Southern States Director. So that means that I have the Oklahoma and Texas states for our Worthmore Nation pageants.
Okay.
I actually got connected with the pageant back in, I want to say it was like 2019. I did
Okay.
this little journey where I went back to all my old foster homes and took pictures in front of them. And it was the thing that I kind of had just done for me to just kind of create a map of where I had been. Because although I always lived in the same state and I always lived in the same city, I still lived in 12 houses before I was 18. And
Okay.
so I went on this little journey with, it was me and one of my friends, and we just went and took pictures. And I created a post for it to post on Facebook. And I was like, hey, everybody, like, and it was just kind of a like deep post, but again, I didn't expect it to take off the way it did. It was, posted to my personal Facebook, and next thing I know, it's been shared over like 70,000 times, I think, or something.
Holy moly, that's incredible.
Yeah, it was very random, but through that, Sandy ended up seeing the post and reaching out to
Okay.
me. It was very early on. They had hosted one pageant at that time, and she was like, "This is what we do. We would love to send you a crown and banner." And I was like, "Okay." I had I knew nothing about the pageant world at that point. I'm 19 years old. I have lived my whole life without any of the that kind of things, and so she sent me the crown and the banner, and my two best friends and I went downtown and just took pictures, just having fun with it. And we posted those, and Sandy fell in love with it. She was so excited and so happy. And a few months later, I ended up flying out to New York for their national pageant, and got to participate in that. And I've gone back every year since.
Oh my gosh, I love that. That's so amazing. So you are over Oklahoma and Texas. Do you live in
Correct.
one of those states or are from one of those
So
states?
when I started it out, when we first decided to expand Worthmore Nation, Oklahoma was the first pageant outside of New York
Okay.
to exist, and it's still the only state that has had a pageant, but we have branched out a little more. And
Okay.
so I did Oklahoma for, gosh, 4 years, 5 years. And then 2 years ago, I moved down to Texas. And we have not had our Texas pageant yet, as I've gotten settled and gotten my feet on the ground and figured out kind of the community down here. But I wasn't willing to give up Oklahoma because those are my babies and that's my home. And, that's where I
Yeah.
lived the first 24 years of my life.
Mhm.
So we decided to expand it as just Southern states so that I could keep my Oklahoma pageant, but I could also do a Texas one and we could just kind of merge them together eventually.
I love that. Oh, that's so incredible. Okay, so you said that you lived in 12 foster homes until you were 18. Can
Correct.
you share a little bit more about your story about living in foster care and aging out?
So uh, I didn't really have my first interaction until I was around 5 or 6 years old. My biological mother went back to prison at that time, blah, blah, blah. I was with my grandpa. And he had guardianship of me for most of my childhood. He and my aunt had split. And so it was kind of back and forth in between them. And then something would happen, and,
Mhm.
everybody's got their opinions on what it should be and this and that. And so then there were more hands in the pot than there needed to be.
Yeah.
And, I don't, there's maybe one or two homes that I would ever say were like terrible. Nobody
Okay.
wants to be in foster care. There are the horror stories out there of like how terrible foster parents are, and there's people that are in it just for the money or just for this and that and the other. Convenience is actually, I heard that a lot. I was like, people are foster parents when it's convenient, and then I experienced it, and I was like, oh no, that's definitely a thing.
Yeah.
So I have really great people out there that, although that may not have been my forever, there's still people I communicate with to this day. And I have so many just like, bonus families and people that, even though they're not necessarily mine and in my life now, I know that there's somebody that I can rely on. And then when I was 18, I ended up moving in with my best friend.
Okay.
And she still lived at home. We were still seniors in high school. And
Okay.
That's kind of what started the journey into adulthood. And then there were some more moves early on, as you know, you get your feet on the ground and everything like that. Um, the aging out for me personally was not the worst thing to happen because I did have a good support system. Uh,
Okay.
but I know for a lot of kids, they turn 18 and depending on the home they're in,
It's
their 18th birthday, they may be out front with trash bags. That's how my 19th birthday went. And um, I don't want to like discount my experience because I'm bad at that. Somebody always has it worse and this and that and the other.
yeah.
Um, but I know that my experience wasn't ideal and that there's also people out there who have it better. And I want to work to kind of create that not only for myself, but for, other children who are going through the same thing. For a while, I kind of started to run a program for youth that were aging out of foster care. And
Okay.
we went over things, interview skills, different things like that.
Oh, that's
We had a little, like a professional closet so these kids could get clothes for interviews and things like that. Because when you hit 18, like, yes, you're an adult, but before that, you
but
don't
you're
really know what's
not.
going on. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
not an
You're
adult
not
at
like you're
18.
not an adult, truly. And that's so incredible that you help them because the interview skills and all of that, getting a job and teaching them about adulthood and life, like you really don't learn that truly. Like
Right.
you're still a teenager, and I feel like a lot of the things I learned after 18, like going through college and really getting into like the job world.
Yeah, there's nothing that prepares you for turning 18. And just because that day on the calendar passes, that doesn't make you suddenly an adult and suddenly ready to take on the world. And I think that that's kind of the problem. Not just with foster children, I mean, children, period. But with foster children, that day on the calendar kind of determines their entire life.
Mm-hmm. Gosh. So, question. I'm gonna like move to another topic about
Yeah.
Worthmore Nation. Can you remember and look back at your first pageant with Worthmore Nation when you flew out to New York to their national pageant? Can you tell me what was it like going to New York, first of all, and going there and meeting everybody, doing the pageant? What was that like? How did it change your perspective on pageantry and everything like that?
So it was terrifying
Okay.
at the beginning. I hadn't ever done anything like that. I'd only been on an airplane one other time. I had only left the state of Oklahoma, I think, twice at that point in my life. And then at 19 years old, I got on an airplane and basically flew to strangers.
Yeah.
And I remember being so nervous. And I walked in and just like instantly felt like I was at home. I was surrounded by just like kindness and gentleness and, people that just wanted to be your friend.
Mhm.
Um, and so I got to create a lot of friendships early on. And then, I got on stage and ended up giving a speech at my first ever pageant. And it was just one of the most like fulfilling things I had done at that point in my life. And I know that everybody they hear pageantry. Even I started a new job recently, and people at work are starting to figure it out. And I hear what everybody says because I don't look like the little pageant girls that they're used to seeing in their mind. Um, at that point, I was already I'm covered in tattoos and things like that, and so everybody's always kind of taken aback by it when I say it. And a lot of people, their first kind of reaction when you say pageantry is they think of like toddlers and tiaras.
Yeah.
And while that may be the case for some people, every pageant, whether it's Worth More Nation or competitive pageantry, that I have experienced, that's not been the case.
Hmm.
It is really a warm just sisterhood and friendship. And so trying to get that point across to people, I think is one of the most like I don't necessarily say frustrating, but like frustrating things about being kind of a pageant girl is like trying to get people to change their perspective on it.
I love that. Okay, so you gave a speech at your first pageant. Was that planned or was
It
that on the
was.
Okay.
Sandy had talked to me and she was like, "You should do this," and because she one thing with like my post that went viral and just other things like that is when I sit down and take the time, I am very good with words. But you put
Okay.
me on the spot and like we're not going to get there. We'll get the point across eventually, but it is not going to be as eloquent as it should be. And so she was like, maybe you just kind of talk about this. And so I put together a speech, no idea what to expect. And I remember getting on stage and I could see the microphones shaking. And I could just, in my head, I was like, everybody in the audience can see this. And I had to just remind myself, like, that's not why people are there.
Mhm.
And so I gave the speech. It was really well received. And then, at the end of the night, we have to clean. That is part of it. And so while everybody was cleaning, I disappeared and I found a table and I hid under that table.
Okay.
And so Sandy still talks about it, like the difference from my first pageant to my second pageant of like me hiding under a table to like leading everything that I did that next year. And so, the speech was planned and oh my goodness, I think I spent like a solid month writing and rewriting that speech. And
Incredible.
because I just, that was my first experience and I wanted it to be perfect. And
Yeah.
and that's the thing about pageantry, like everybody has this concept that they need to be perfect, but
Mhm.
it's not. It's an amazing time for you to grow and for you to learn. And your perfect to you is not going to be perfect to somebody else, and somebody else's perfect may not be what you think is perfect. And so it's just finding something where you can be confident in yourself with it without discounting yourself.
I think so many more people need to hear that. Like, I just need that on a loop right now. I love that. Okay, so from your first pageant, hiding under a table, second pageant, you said you led a bunch of things. What did you lead? And when did you start directing the Oklahoma pageant?
So the following year was COVID, and
Okay. Yes,
was
it was.
it was a disaster. It wasn't a disaster. It was great and it was beautiful, and I'm so glad that we came together and we were able to find a way to still be able to do this pageant for the people who needed it. And so, I got to help with a lot of workshops that year and things like that. We had smaller numbers, so it was like a really good time for me to be able to get my feet in the water and figure out what it was going to be. And then that following, oh my gosh, the dogs have a squeaky toy. I'm so sorry. So I think it was the following year that we started Oklahoma. At that point I'd been out there twice, and in Oklahoma I was very involved with the foster care community. I knew a lot about it and everything like that. And so I just knew that the magic that I was feeling at Worthmore Nation, I wanted to bring that home, and I wanted to give it to the people in my life who I knew needed it. And so I sprung the idea on Sandy kind of randomly. I was like, what if I did one of these at home? And she was like, what do you mean? And I was like, what if we took Worthmore Nation to Oklahoma? And she was like, I love the idea. I love it. That's going to be amazing. That's going to be fabulous. And from there, we just kind of dove in. And I think from the moment I said it to the moment we had the pageant, it was maybe 4 months.
Oh my gosh.
It was a very quick process, and it was a little stressful. It was quite stressful, but it was magical. I think I had 12 girls the first year that I got to crown. It was just beautiful. And so from that moment, of doing it myself and like starting that somewhere else, it spread like wildfire. And everybody that I knew that I needed something like that, I was trying to bring. And I wanted everybody to experience that moment of not only just like fun and things like that, but it's a moment of magic, and it resets your soul in a way that you don't really expect. And I think that's kind of what got me hooked and made me not only like keep Oklahoma when I moved, but now I want to bring it to Texas. And I want everybody to be able to experience that.
Oh my gosh. I love that. What part of Texas, can I ask?
I'm in Austin.
Okay. Okay. I have family in Houston, and then we do nationals at the end of June in Dallas kind of area.
Okay, so I'm basically smack dab in the middle.
You really are. I'm like, okay. But that's not a bad drive from Houston.
Yeah, it's, I think, I want to say like two and a half. I've made it once.
Okay.
And I don't remember a lot of it.
How personally, in your opinion, has Worthmore Nation impacted you?
Oh my gosh, in so many ways. Like, I don't even know where to start. I think, like, first and foremost, it gave me a confidence that I didn't know that I needed. I was very content with, being in the shadows, being the background of anything in my life. And doing Worthmore Nation, like, gave me that confidence to step forward because people care about what I say or care about how I feel and different things like that. And so I think it kind of showed me a whole new world of basic kindness. And it just kind of gave me like a new step into a new direction to continue my own life. Because the things that that Worthmore Nation teaches throughout the day is, from the outside, sure, it looks like we're just kind of hosting a pageant for everybody. But on the inside, these girls are learning lifelong skills. Some of them are speaking in public for the first time and different things like that. And they're learning what confidence is and how to hold themselves in a manner that feels good to them and different things like that. And so I think, like, first and foremost is it gave me a confidence that I didn't know I needed. And then secondly, it gave me a family. Um, so we know I aged out. The year after I went to Worthmore Nation, I actually met my adopted parents. So I got adopted in adulthood. Um,
Okay.
and so the year after Worthmore Nation, I actually met my adopted parents, and my family, and everybody that is my family now. And at that point, I spent a lot of my childhood looking for that family. I wanted that family. I wanted the family like my best friend had, with the mom and the dad and the siblings and things like that. And I spent a very, very long time looking for that. And I think with that, I sold myself short a lot. And I gave people access to my life that didn't need access to my life. And so Worthmore Nation gave me that confidence of not only being confident in myself, but being confident in my worth and like what I deserve. And it gave me the confidence to be okay with who I was, where I was. Just because I'm X amount of years old doesn't mean I'm supposed to be at a certain place, or just because I'm here doesn't mean that I'm supposed to be, whatever people may think. And so it gave me that confidence in myself of, I am exactly where I need to be right now. And I think, that's how I was able to find the family that I have, like the most amazing family, because I quit looking. And it just, it happened naturally. And it was just, like, I could go on for hours of the things that Worthmore Nation has given me. But I think the biggest ones is family and friendship that I never thought was possible, and just confidence in myself and in others.
That's incredible. Oh, I love that so much. And I love that so much for you and all the girls. I think pageantry in general can do that for a lot of people, giving them confidence and finding your worth. Because, I mean, even competitive pageantry, we're being judged by complete
Right.
strangers. And you kind of have to understand that that is their opinion of you. And yes, it's time to grow, but it's also time to know when to accept that opinion and when to not. And
Mm-hmm.
I love that Worthmore Nation is also pouring into y'all just like that. So, are there anything happening, and feel free to go on about the Texas pageant, but anything else happening in the future that you're excited for with Worthmore Nation?
I mean, nationals is next month, and the reconnecting and everything that I get to do. It's going to be one of our bigger nationals this year. So I'm
Okay.
really excited to see everybody and meet new people. And then I know that on their end, they're working really hard to separate the state and national pageant. And so that's a really exciting opportunity. And then, of course, yes, getting Texas ready. I'm involved with a lot of different things now that I've moved, and a lot of like social events. And the need for something like Worthmore Nation here, I know, is just so huge. And so being able to start that process to get Texas going and know that, I'm going to be able to serve more girls who need it is just like so mind-blowing and exciting because I never thought that I would, be in charge of anything, let alone something as life-changing as Worthmore Nation. And so, while maybe, yeah, I only have my states, like my states are going to make a difference. And
Yes.
so
Hey,
watching it expand is just like, I love it. I love being able to give people, something that they may not even know that they're looking for. And they come to Worthmore Nation and they find something new and something comforting and hopefully changes their life in a way that they weren't expecting.
oh, I love that. And when do y'all have a date set for the Texas pageant?
We do not yet.
Okay.
So our biggest hurdle um, is trying to find a venue
Okay.
that is not only centrally located, because yes, I am in Central Texas. I would like something centrally located, and it's harder because Texas is a lot bigger than Oklahoma was.
Yes.
And so it's not only like finding that perfect location, but then it's also finding a venue that's willing to work with a nonprofit that doesn't have a lot of income and different things like that. And so I got really, really blessed in Oklahoma that I was able, the venue that we use in Oklahoma is always provided to us completely free.
Oh,
And that is how we've been able to host Oklahoma, not only as quickly as we did, but then now as often as we have. And so it's trying to find something, similar in Texas so that I can be able to do this. Because honestly, past finding the space, like we're set to go.
okay.
I moved the Oklahoma closet down here, because Sandy's got the fancy frock now and everything. And if we need anything, it will always be provided. However, I do have my own stash of dresses for Southern States. And so, all of that's ready. I have all of the everything that I need ready. I have so many girls in mind that I already know need it, and I know that more will show up as it comes. And so it's finding that space and that time to dedicate for these girls.
Okay. Okay. I am gonna figure. I have family in Texas. I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know if I can do anything, but I'm a text. How about
Yeah. And,
that?
that's, sometimes that's what it starts. That's how we got our Oklahoma venue. Is it started with a text to my old pastor, hey, this is what I want to do. And he was like, I'm on board. Let's do it.
Okay. I
And,
love that.
so that's it. Sometimes is as simple as that, and that's what I have to remind myself too, because I begin to doubt myself or overthink. And what if
Mhm.
somebody doesn't like the idea, or what if somebody doesn't believe in the mission? And I have to remind myself that I know what I am doing is making that difference, and somewhere out there somebody's going to agree with me, and all of our needs will be met.
Yes. Yes. You will find a way. I have no doubt it will happen. Okay. Final question that I ask all of my guests is what is one thing that you wish everyone would understand about what you do?
Oh my gosh. Oh gosh, that's so fun. I want people to know that it's more than pretty dresses and makeup. Yes, I love to get pretty for the day, and I love to do all of the pageant things, but beyond that, it is building relationships and changing lives. It's trying to spread the positivity and the kindness that I want to see and that I hold myself to, is trying to spread that out into the universe and let everybody else see. And so I think I want people to understand that it's not about the outside, it's about the inside.
I love that so much. Thank you so
Of
much
course.
for being with me today. It was so nice meeting you and listening to
I
you
Yeah, I had a
and
great
hear
time.
everything that you have talked about, your story, Worthmore Nation. I can truly tell that you are a great asset to this pageant system, even a great asset to Oklahoma, Texas, and I really hope that y'all keep expanding as well because I think this is incredible.
It was great. Thank you. I had a great time.